Let's begin with the most painful point. That thought you never voice, yet it echoes in your head as you watch the news, observe your boss, or recall that inept leader who managed you for years. How can someone so incompetent, so mediocre, so devoid of substance, rise so high? What kind of world permits the least capable among us to set the rules? And why do you, who see more, understand more, and work harder, remain at the bottom? This isn't just a rhetorical question. It's a raw, nagging truth that haunts you while you pretend everything is logical. But it's not. None of it is. Because the system isn't broken. It's deliberately designed this way. You know it. You feel it every time a charismatic yet empty person gets the credit while you silently do the heavy lifting. Deep down, you realize that meritocracy is just a bedtime story for the naive. That it's not the brightest who succeed, but the loudest. That it's not the wisest who ascend, but those who best conceal their ignorance. This gnaws at you because it contradicts everything you've been taught. Remember? Work hard and you'll succeed. That's a falsehood cloaked in diplomas, vacuous speeches, and insincere smiles. The reality is that power is seized not by the most knowledgeable, but by those who merely appear to be. In this game, you're losing because you hesitate. You think before you speak. You analyze. They don't. They leap without a safety net, and the world cheers them on. Do you know why? Because most people can't distinguish confidence from wisdom. In a superficial world, appearances are paramount. Human psychology, so predictable and easily manipulated, favors those who shout, those who smile, those who persuade, even if they have nothing of substance to offer. If you're feeling angry now, if you're stirred up inside, it's because you've been duped for too long. They've convinced you that the problem is you, that you need more self-belief, to step out of your comfort zone, to project more confidence. But how can you do that when every fiber of your being screams that the incompetent are in control? How do you engage in a game that shuns depth and celebrates shallowness? This narrative isn't a recent failure of capitalism or democracy. No, it stretches back centuries to a man who first articulated the unspoken rules of power, Niccolò Machiavelli. He boldly declared that power belongs not to the virtuous, but to the cunning. That morality is a convenient illusion. That politics is ruled not by principles, but by perceptions. That's the trap. In a world where perception is everything, the most adept at manipulating perceptions hold the advantage. It doesn't matter if they're incompetent, as long as they seem otherwise. Because humans don't choose the best. They choose what makes them feel secure. And security is easy to fake. Very easy. Here's where it all connects. The Dunning-Kruger effect, mass psychology, the human tendency to follow leaders, even hollow ones. The brain seeks not truth, but emotional coherence. And who offers more emotional coherence than someone who never doubts? Even if they're wrong, even if they're clueless, if they state it confidently, they're believed. Meanwhile, you think, you question, You scrutinize every detail before speaking. And in the game of power, that's a handicap. Every doubt you harbor, they mask with a feigned smile. Every hesitation you show, they fill with mindless babble. So, what do you do with all this? Do you give up? Become one of them? Or do you choose to understand the game better? This isn't just about politics. It's present in businesses, universities, social media. It's pervasive. The cult of appearance has infected every facet of our society. And the sooner you grasp this, the quicker you can navigate it wisely. But beware, understanding this doesn't mean betraying your principles. It's not about becoming another imposter. It's about opening your eyes, realizing that mere competence isn't enough unless you know how to showcase it. That truth needs a compelling presentation to be heard. That wisdom alone can't survive in a spectacle-driven world. This video isn't merely contemplative. It's an alert, a guide, a map to traverse a landscape where the inept seem to have an edge. But it's also an invitation to look deeper, to escape the trap of frustration, to recognize that history is often shaped by those adept at deception, but also by those who observe quietly and then speak with precision. This isn't a message of despair. It's a call to clarity. When you understand the mechanisms of power, when you perceive the invisible structures that support it, you can start to dismantle them. But first, you must confront the abyss. Now, take a deep breath. What follows won't be comforting. We're about to delve into why the most unqualified rise to the top, how they do it, what mental traps they employ, and most crucially, what you can do to stop being a silent bystander in this power theater. Prepare yourself. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. And that's precisely what you need. Now that your eyes are open, now that you can no longer digest the comforting but false narrative of work hard and you'll succeed, let's go deeper. The issue doesn't stop with the incompetent in power. That's just the visible tip. What's truly sinister is the invisible architecture that upholds them. Have you noticed how these mediocre leaders stay aloft without tumbling, even when their decisions are catastrophic? How, despite blunder after blunder, they remain celebrated, applauded, voted for, emulated? The explanation is perverse. They fortified their incompetence with trenches, systems, people, narratives, all meticulously crafted to maintain their position, and, most alarmingly, to convince you that you're the one at fault for doubting them. Here's a concept seldom discussed, but incredibly revealing: the normalization of mediocrity. When an incompetent person gains power, they must transform their lack of skill into the standard, not the exception. How? Simply by surrounding themselves with others as mediocre or worse. Individuals who won't challenge them, who won't cause discomfort, who won't outshine them. Individuals who recognize that their loyalty is valued more than their skill. And thus, what was once an anomaly becomes the norm. Mediocrity becomes institutionalized. The compliant are rewarded. The brilliant are penalized. Gradually, the environment deteriorates. And you, still possessing some clarity, start to wonder if you're the one who's out of place. This is known in psychology as cognitive dissonance, that mental discomfort that arises when what you observe doesn't align with what you believed. How can he lead this project if he doesn't grasp the basics? How can she be the director if she ignores everyone and botches everything? But your surroundings accept it. No one speaks up. Everyone acts as if all is well. And then you fall silent. You adapt. You deceive yourself. And here's where it gets darkest. When you adjust to someone else's mediocrity, something within you begins to die. Not abruptly, not loudly. It fades quietly, gradually, like a candle extinguishing unnoticed. And the most tragic part? You don't even realize it until one day you find yourself applauding subpar work just to fit in. Or you lower your own standards so as not to disrupt. Or you avoid standing out because you've learned that it only brings trouble. And so, what began with an incompetent person in power ultimately turns you into a cog in the machine. Mediocrity spreads not because it's appealing, but because the system renders it advantageous. Because those in power don't seek improvement. They seek stability. They don't desire truth. They crave silence. And you begin to provide it. Now, let's delve deeper. Let's discuss a subtle yet devastating tactic. The reward for obedience masquerading as merit. In many professional and political environments, blind allegiance is prized over critical thinking. Those who agree are promoted. Those who don't question. Those who parrot what the leader wants to hear. They're labeled efficient, cooperative, exemplary. But in reality, they're merely functional to the status quo. True intelligence, the kind that questions, that disrupts, that declares, "This doesn't make sense," is perceived as a threat, as rebellious, as insubordinate. And who survives? Those who bow their heads. Those who conform. Those who learn to remain silent when they should speak up. And so, generation after generation, clones of the same profile are replicated. Loyal mediocrities who will never challenge the structure that shelters them. And here's another harsh reality few dare to acknowledge: the revenge of the incompetent. Have you noticed how the most insecure leaders are often the harshest toward others' talent? They don't do it because they despise the competent. They do it because the competent remind them of what they'll never achieve. Because deep down, you yearn to understand this twisted game, to break free from the pattern, to stop living in a system where mediocrity ascends while talent languishes in silence. And that's why what you're about to hear isn't an ending. It's a beginning. Let's embark on one final journey, the most crucial, the most personal. For a moment, forget the system. Forget the inept politicians, the incapable bosses, the narcissists in suits. Look at yourself. Examine yourself closely and ask the only question that truly matters. Which version of you has been controlling your life? Has it been the powerful, alert, unsettling, courageous version, or the dormant, resigned version molded to fit expectations? Because here's the ultimate twist. This is where the video diverges into two paths. Yes, the incompetent rise. Yes, the system applauds them. But there's something no one can take from you. Your perception, your awareness, your perspective. And that's where real subversion begins. Do you truly want to break the cycle? Then stop waiting for the world to change. Change yourself first. Not from the trite glitch of, be your best version. No, from something far more profound. Turn off your automatic obedience. Suppress that reflex to bow your head, to remain silent, to believe that your discomfort is a flaw when, in fact, it's proof that you're still conscious. You don't need to shout. You don't need a megaphone. What you need is clarity, an unwavering standard, the ability to see an empty leader, and, instead of admiring or envying them, view them with clear-eyed compassion. Recognize them for what they are, a product of collective fear, an actor in a crumbling play. And you're not obligated to applaud the performance. Begin building your autonomy, not from anger, but from intelligence. Surround yourself with those who challenge with ideas, not those who entertain with noise. And when you encounter someone with genuine competence, genuine ethics, genuine thought, don't overlook them. Support them, promote them, protect them, because they are the first ones the system tries to silence. And if you ever feel isolated in this, remember this scene. You're watching this video, and if you've made it this far, trust me, you're not alone. There are others like you. People who think, people who observe, people who no longer tolerate celebrated incompetence or suppressed talent. So here's a challenge. If this video resonated with you, if it struck a nerve you've been trying to ignore, leave a comment. But don't elaborate. Don't justify. Don't debate. Just write this sentence. I've already seen the theater. That's enough. That's how I'll know you're aware. That you don't need further proof. That you've already seen what you needed to see. That now, you just need to decide what to do with it. And if you want to continue exploring these uncomfortable truths, subscribe. Not out of obligation, but because this space is for those who no longer accept the lie. For those who don't need a spectacle, but clarity. And if you know someone who still lives applauding the incompetent, share this video with them. Not to persuade them, but to plant a seed of doubt. Sometimes, a single doubt can shatter a lifetime of conditioning. Thank you for staying until the end. Seriously, not everyone does. Most leave within the first few minutes. But you stayed, and that says a lot. It indicates you're prepared. So, I'll conclude with one final image. Picture a room full of people clapping. Everyone standing, applauding someone on stage. A leader, a figurehead, a name in bold. But you're not clapping. Not because you despise them. Not because you're envious, but because you already see what others don't. That's your strength, your silence, your discernment, your insight. And while the theater continues, you're already at the exit, ready to build something different, far from the noise, close to what's real. See you in the next video, or not. It depends on whether you choose to stay awake or return to slumber. The choice is yours.